Welcome to Intermedium's 5th iteration of the nationally recognised Digital Government Readiness Indicator, the DGRI. My name is Lucas Tomashet. I'm a research analyst at Intermedium and a contributor to this year's report. As our new normal unfolds, Intermedium remains committed to its annual assessment of the steps that Australian and New Zealand jurisdictions are taking toward public sector digital transformation. We are excited to bring you the results of the 2021 DGRI. Why does Intermedium think measuring digital government readiness is important? As governments grappled with the seismic events of 2020, the value of sound digital investment and service delivery capability was powerfully underscored. Jurisdictions across Australia and New Zealand who had laid their whole-of-government digital groundwork were able to move faster and in more adaptable ways in response to the pandemic, particularly with key health data analysis and implementation of contact tracing, including the use of QR code-based apps. The DGRI provides an objective examination of each jurisdiction's progress within key digital transformation enablers such as strategy, policy and governance. It offers a multi-jurisdictional perspective on what key digital transformation enablers Australian and New Zealand governments have regarded as essential. As a prime example, the ability to share, analyse and collaborate on key, often real-time and personal data was absolutely critical in combating COVID-19. The jurisdictions that had previously put in place the necessary data use, retention and privacy frameworks were in a much better position to respond with COVID-19 measures than those who had not achieved as much with their enablers. Now let me tell you a bit about the methodology. The DGRI evaluation is conducted purely on publicly available information. This creates a level playing field for all jurisdictions and allows Intermedium to maintain objectivity in its evaluation. In other words, if evidence of an enabler is not in the public domain, it is not taken into account. The evaluation is based on 6 enabling criteria: strategy, policy, governance, procurement, service delivery and collaboration. These criteria have a number of assessment elements which are assigned weightings. Intermedium conducts extensive research to identify all the public domain information necessary to allow for scores to be fairly and objectively allocated to these elements. This year we have added a funding element under the strategy enabler criterion to acknowledge the importance of investments being made into digital transformation projects, many of which have really come to the fore during 2020. Let's delve a little deeper into each criteria. So what does Intermedium look for in making their assessment? We look for the existence and relevance of ICT or digital strategies. Where strategies do exist, some are clearly more comprehensive and mature than others, particularly with regard to concrete action plans, indicative milestones or timeframes, and importantly, reporting on achievements. We look for the existence, maturity, and comprehensiveness of ICT policies covering privacy, open data, data retention, and cybersecurity. These policies not only provide direction to agencies on how to best employ digital assets or protect their information, but again gives us clues as to how focused, ambitious, and committed jurisdictions are in their digital transformation. We look at ICT governance. For whole-of-government digital transformation to be as efficient and effective as possible, a broad array of key stakeholders should be involved in clarifying true service delivery needs, in direction setting, decision making, managing risk, and acknowledging success as well as failure. We look at whether service delivery agencies have been established to provide seamless citizen experiences. Service delivery agencies that provide a single front end through which citizens can interact in the channel of their choice to engage with government and to receive a service tailored to their specific need or circumstance has been emerging as an increasingly high priority across ANZ jurisdictions. We look at procurement policies and whether they support digital transformation. Not just the ability to sell products or services to government, but how truly accessible the opportunities are for suppliers, if competition is being fostered, and if there are steps being taken to simplify contracts and account for emerging technologies. Finally, we look at cross-jurisdictional collaboration. We can all agree that adopting best practice and learnings and working towards common aspirational goals is a lot more effective when that's done together. So what did we find? Over the last 5 years, the DGRI has illustrated that there are digital transformation leader and laggard jurisdictions, with the risk being that there will be a digital divide in terms of what key services Australian citizens might receive from their governments, based purely on where they happen to reside. In 2020, we saw several jurisdictions fall back in their score, meaning their progress to achieving significant digital transformation has been impeded, not enhanced, and giving rise to the very real possibility of a significant rail gauges issue, where the digital services offered by different jurisdictions not only do not align with each other, but become increasingly divergent. The demands of COVID-19 have taxed government resources in many ways, and for some jurisdictions, it has meant that they are not as focused on whole-of-government digital transformation as they previously were. In other jurisdictions, the increase in scoring was often incremental. This is mainly due to the fact that the more groundwork that has been done in early years, the less headroom remains to significantly increase the score out of the possible 10. For example, the initial publication of a strategy or policy that previously did not exist will result in a large increase in score, whereas an update to an existing policy can only gain an incremental increase in points. Now let me move on to give you 3 key observations for each jurisdiction. While that is all I have time for in this brief overview, all the detail is in our report, available from the Intermedium website. For the Australian Capital Territory, the release of a new digital strategy, a new comprehensive data governance framework, and expansion of customer-centric service delivery solutions through Access Canberra. For the Federal Government, annual updates to the digital transformation strategy and major funding, the release of a new cybersecurity strategy and establishment of a cybersecurity strategy delivery board, and the establishment of a Secretary's Digital Committee. For New South Wales, regular quarterly updates to the comprehensive Beyond Digital strategy and major funding, continued delivery and enhancements to Service New South Wales, and the development of an AI strategy and continued focus on procurement reforms. For the Northern Territory, releasing an action plan and regular progress updates via an ICT dashboard, appointment of a Minister for Corporate and Digital Development, and introduction of customer-centric digital forms platform and streamlined business application portal. For New Zealand, a focus on improved privacy protections, improving ICT procurement through the additional online channels and support to SMEs, and the appointment of a Minister for Digital Economy and Communications post-election. For Queensland, no updates to its ICT strategy and a hiatus on all ICT projects pre-election. The introduction of a Government Chief Customer and Digital Officer role, but limited progress with online service functionality. For South Australia, the release of a combined ICT, digital and cybersecurity strategy and significant funding. An updated data management record standard focusing on digital records and active pursuit of procurement reform. For Tasmania, release of an inaugural digital strategy, Our Digital Future. The release of a new Informations and Records Management Standard and implementing a replacement to the Government Information Technology conditions which are currently in use for procurement. For Victoria, no updates to its ICT strategy, but the establishment of Digital Victoria Business Unit. Significant funding to Service Victoria and progress on the digital archiving program. For Western Australia, no ICT strategy updates or progress reports. The finalisation of the establishment of the Office of the Chief Information Officer as a permanent business unit within the Department of Premier and Cabinet, and the appointment of its senior executive team. And funding for Environment Online, a digital one-stop platform which has the potential to be used by all jurisdictions. So with that key context outlined, here are the results of Intermedium's 2021 Digital Government Readiness Indicator. A score of 9 on our index means that we have assessed the jurisdiction as being digitally ready and we expect jurisdictions receiving such a score to excel in the transformation of digital government services which are more personalised, faster and seamless. New South Wales is the outright leader with a score of 9.8. It has retained its top spot for the 5th consecutive time and is now well into DGRI 2.0 territory, where agencies are starting comprehensive delivery of digital products and services based on the fact that enablers are in place. Keep an eye on Intermedium for more information on the upcoming DGRI 2.0. The federal government achieved a score of 9.5 and retained its 2nd place. New Zealand government achieved a score of 9.4 and is in 3rd place. The Australian Capital Territory government achieved a score of 8.9. It made the greatest rise on the leaderboard this year, jumping from 7th to 4th place, with a 12.7% increase in scoring from 7.9 to 8.9. The South Australian government achieved a score of 8.6 and is in 5th place, ahead of Victoria and Queensland. The Victorian government achieved a score of 8.5 and is in 6th place. The Northern Territory government achieved a score of 8.2 and is in 7th place, continuing a strong upward trajectory. The Queensland government achieved a score of 8.0 and is in 8th place. The Tasmanian government achieved a score of 7.1 and is in 9th place. The Western Australian government achieved a score of 6.8 and is in 10th place. In comparison to where jurisdictions started 5 years ago, it's encouraging to see how much they have improved their scoring, bunching together with no jurisdiction receiving less than a credit result. But 5 years is a very long time, and a fully digital economy supported by full digital government services at all levels is an increasingly important objective. We wish all jurisdictions the best and look forward to measuring what they achieve during 2021 as we seek to move further into our COVID-influenced economic recovery. You can download your free copy of the DGRI at intermedium.com.au.